Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions.
Namaste, bienvenidos amados poderosos compañeros.
How wonderful to be together to see the truth.
Qué bueno es venir a unirnos y ver la verdad.
So this is an invitation for those who speak a different language to go ahead and you can add captions. We sent instructions on that. If you want to do it in the future to a different language, you certainly can do it for whatever language you prefer to show up on your computer.
Ustedes pueden ir y configurar los subtítulos en cualquier idioma que quieran. Les hemos enviado un instructivo para que lo hagan.
I'm just trying to turn on our transcript so we can see it. There we go. Okay, wow. The power. This is really about acceptance of power, divine power.
El poder. Esto realmente es la aceptación de nuestro poder divino.
Okay, what could be more powerful to see that heaven is a choice I must make?
Qué más maravilloso podría ser darnos cuenta de que el cielo es una alternativa por la que nos tenemos que decidir.
It's like, well, what does that mean?
¿Qué quiere decir eso?
What does it mean to have to choose for heaven?
¿Qué quiere decir que tengo que elegir por el cielo?
God already chose what heaven for us.
Dios ya eligió el cielo por nosotros.
You know, heaven is the word that symbolizes our identity.
El cielo es lo que simboliza nuestra identidad.
Happiness.
Felicidad.
Infinite happiness.
Infinita felicidad.
So what's the gap?
Entonces, ¿cuál es el espacio?
If it's already here,
Y si ya está aquí,
okay, how come I can't see that? How can I see that?
entonces, ¿cómo puedo ver eso?
How come I don't recognize it if it's already here?
¿Y cómo no lo puedo reconocer si ya está aquí?
Well, we're learning, of course, in the light circles that we have to see where we don't want to see. We don't want to choose for God, choose heaven.
Y lo podemos ver en los círculos, cómo no queremos elegir el cielo.
The power of the decision for heaven.
El poder de la decisión por el cielo.
This is what the ego trick is. It's all made up to prevent us from seeing infinite.
Y eso es lo que hace el ego, prevenirnos de ver lo que es infinito.
All made up. Am I willing to see that, Jesus?
Hace todo para que pase esto. ¿Estoy dispuesto a ver esto, Jesús?
When Jesus says, the voice for God speaks to me throughout the day.
Cuando Jesús dice, la voz de Dios me habla durante todo el día.
Are we willing to admit how valuable that is?
¿Estamos dispuestos a admitir lo valioso que es esto?
To speak to the voice for God all day long.
De hablar la voz de Dios durante todo el día, eso es esencial.
You know, and it's interesting because when I start talking about talking to Jesus and 24/7, oh my gosh, it's infinitely valuable.
Y es maravilloso porque cuando comencé a hablar la voz de Dios durante todo el día es infinitamente valioso.
Because the ego is tricky and it will trick you constantly. We love tricking ourselves into delusion.
Y porque el ego es engañoso y le encanta el engaño y le encanta que nos engañemos a nosotros mismos.
If you want to cut the delusion and say, look, I'm not playing in the garden of hell anymore.
Y si queremos parar este engaño y decir, no quiero, no voy a jugar más en el jardín del infierno,
The decision is yours to decide that you want to hear that voice all day long.
la decisión está en ti, que puedes escuchar esta voz durante todo el día.
I will make no decisions by myself.
No tomaré decisiones por mi cuenta.
How can we not make a decision by ourselves unless we're willing to hear that voice every time consistently?
¿Y cómo no vamos a tomar decisiones por nuestra cuenta si no escuchamos esa voz todo el día consistentemente?
Until you see, because the objection is to the voice. Oh my gosh, there's so many objections to hearing Jesus, and I don't need to talk to Jesus. And
Hay muchas objeciones de escuchar a Jesús y de no querer escucharlo. No quiero escuchar a Jesús.
this symbol is the symbol of compression of time.
Este es el símbolo de la compresión del tiempo.
In your willingness, I will reveal to you the blocks in your mind to the awareness of love. I will reveal it.
En tu disposición, en tu voluntad, yo te revelaré los bloqueos al amor.
So, how is he going to reveal it and tell you specifically your function in the atonement
Cómo Él te va a revelar esto y darte tu función en la expiación.
if you're not talking to him and listening to what he has to say, what your role is?
¿Y cómo lo van a hacer si no lo están hablando con Él y para que Él les diga cuál es su rol?
I will dictate to you your role in the atonement.
Yo te dictaré a ti tu función en la expiación.
So the question is,
Así que la pregunta es,
are we willing to hear what our role is in the atonement?
¿estamos dispuestos a escuchar cuál es nuestra función en la expiación?
So I showed a picture before of all the keys to the center, like a box full of keys.
Yo les he mostrado la imagen de las llaves de aquí del centro. Son una caja de llaves.
How much more precise could we get on guidance for spiritual awakening?
¿Cómo más precisión podemos tener en el despertar espiritual?
Than to have that voice coach us to which key to use at which time to open which door.
Que una guía que nos diga qué llave utilizar, en qué momento utilizarla y en qué puerta utilizarla.
I'm asking him if I can say this. He says, yes, it's for me.
Estoy preguntando si puedo hablar esto. Sí, dice que sí, que es para mí.
There are many longtime students of Course in Miracles that are afraid to talk to Jesus and will not do it.
Hay muchos estudiantes de un curso de milagros que han sido estudiantes por mucho tiempo que tienen miedo de hablar con Jesús.
And I was one of them in that line, not wanting to talk to him, not wanting to have anything to do with him.
Y yo fui una de ellos. No quería hablar con él, no quería saber nada de él.
But once you see the power of the level of precision of him pointing out exactly in your subconscious mind what you need to see,
Pero cuando te das cuenta de lo valioso que es tenerlo a él para que él te apunte exactamente en tu nivel de inconsciencia dónde tienes que ver.
I am never upset for the reason I think.
Nunca estoy enojado por la razón que creo.
Consciously selected miracles are misguided.
Los milagros seleccionados conscientemente son creados errados.
So if we're consciousness, and consciousness is going to be misguided in which miracles it chooses.
Si nosotros somos la conciencia y, em, well, sorry, can you give
If
me-
we're consciousness, we're consciousness.
si nosotros somos la conciencia
And consciously selected miracles are misguided,
y los milagros seleccionados conscientemente son errados.
who needs to select the miracles?
¿Quién debe entonces seleccionar los milagros?
Whose function is it to show us which miracles to perform?
¿Quién tiene esa función de mostrarnos cuáles son los milagros que se tienen que llevar a cabo?
How are we going to know unless we're talking to him and he goes, look at this?
¿Cómo nos vamos a ver si no tenemos a alguien que nos diga, mira esto?
It is so profound when he started showing me how I was getting, here's the coach that knew how to change beliefs, getting involved. Here's what miracles needed.
Y cuando él me mostró que yo decía, mira, aquí es donde los milagros se necesitan.
What a celebration to have him get right in there with a laser point, totally different from what I thought, and go, here it is, look at that.
Qué celebración es tener al que sabe que nos dice, mira, mira aquí.
What to look at,
¿Qué mirar?
how to look at it,
¿Cómo mirarlo?
whether it's releasing the acceptance of the miracle or protecting from a full miracle.
¿Dónde estamos aceptando el milagro? ¿Dónde nos estamos protegiendo de la aceptación completa del milagro?
When the miracle is thoroughly accepted, the mind is squeaky clean.
Cuando el milagro está aceptado completamente y la mente está totalmente limpia.
There is no way I would have seen that without talking to him.
No había manera que yo me diera cuenta de esto sin hablar con él.
And those turning their minds into the light circles
Y eso es lo que hacemos en los círculos de luz, girar nuestra mente.
are starting to see how he will show you.
Y comenzar a ver cómo él nos muestra.
See, every miracle is a little step toward the final decision to say, I accept heaven.
Todos los milagros nos llevan a yo acepto el cielo.
Every following, I accept heaven. The ego is going to go like this.
Y cada aceptación de una función es aceptar el cielo, porque el ego va a ir así.
That's what the ego's function is. It's to protest heaven. It's a full protest. Sorry, God, not interested.
Y eso es lo que es el ego, una protesta completa contra Dios. Dios, no estoy interesado.
This, I love A Course in Miracles. It is the ultimate buck stops here.
Y me encanta el curso de milagros porque esto es la última estación del bus, aquí para el bus.
Got a little dog right here.
Tenemos aquí el pequeño perrito.
Pequeño perro. I mean, just contemplate that just for a minute. Think, heaven is a decision I must make.
Miremos esto, contemplémoslo. El cielo es la alternativa por la que me tengo que decidir.
Jesus, am I happy to make heaven a decision, decide for heaven? Do I think my happiness lies in that, yes or no?
Preguntémosle a Jesús. Jesús, creo que mi salvación viene de esto de elegir el cielo.
Okay, we're getting into deep self-honesty here, deep self-honesty.
Vamos a ir a una profunda autohonestidad.
This is where the happy laughter is, really.
Aquí es donde está la sonrisa feliz.
Jesus, do I derive pleasure in denying that heaven is a decision I must make?
¿Obtengo placer de negar que el cielo es la alternativa por la que me debo decidir?
It is the end to something out there doing something to a me.
Es el final de algo me están haciendo a mí.
See, we want the course lessons to detonate like fountain of joy on the inside when you hear that. Oh my gosh.
Queremos que esto detone como algo que detona desde adentro, como una fuente.
This is what the ego does not want to see. It doesn't see that the buck stops here. I have all the power to make a decision for heaven.
Es lo que el ego no quiere que veamos, que el bus para aquí y que yo tengo la decisión de escoger el cielo.
It's like, who talks about that in this world when you look in the reflections of what we created out there?
¿Quién habla en este mundo de esto, de estas reflexiones allá afuera?
Victims, and somebody did it to me and somebody did it to them.
Víctimas, que alguien me hizo esto, que alguien le hizo eso a ellos.
Jesus, do I absolutely relish not seeing that the buck stops here with me?
En verdad, Jesús, disfruto no darme cuenta que el bus para aquí.
When you get it, you grok it, it's only a happiness rocket. There you go.
Y cuando tú lo asimilas es como una felicidad.
Because you see all power's yours to accept heaven. It's like,
Porque te
oh,
das cuenta que todo el poder está en ti de aceptar el cielo.
Dorothy, click your heels and go home.
Dorothy, chasquea tus zapatos y ve a casa.
Dorothy says to Glenda the good witch.
¿Verdad?
Dorothy told Glenda the good witch in The Wizard of Oz.
Ah, ya, ok. Entonces, Glenda, la bruja buena,
Why didn't you tell me?
y le pregunta Dorothy a ella, ¿por qué no me lo has dicho?
Glenda said,
Y Glenda dice,
I would have told you, but you would not have believed me.
yo te lo hubiese dicho, si yo te lo hubiese dicho, tú no me hubieses creído.
So now we have this book telling us 100, well, at least 500 different ways that we don't want to make the choice for heaven, the decision.
Y aquí Jesús nos da como 500 formas de cómo le decimos, cómo no queremos tomar esta decisión.
This is a course, and I don't want to make the decision for heaven.
Este es un curso de yo no quiero tomar la decisión por el cielo.
You know, well, I've said this before, I realize, you read it, oh yeah, this is nice, A Course in Miracles.
Sí, recuerdo cuando lo leí por primera vez, esto es un libro lindo de milagros.
But when you have Jesus working with you in your subconscious mind and pointing out all the relishing of desires.
Pero cuando tú tienes a Jesús que te apunta y te muestra dónde disfrutas los deseos,
you will see that it's a course in where you don't want miracles.
te das cuenta que este es un curso en donde tú no quieres los milagros.
Blocks to love. It's a course in the blocks to love.
Son los bloqueos al amor. Este es un curso de los bloqueos al amor.
I don't know if I can get Gollum to play. No, my keypad's not working. So we'll have to imagine little Gollum, the little Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Sí, no puedo poner el video pero vamos a tener que imaginarnos el Gollum del Señor de los Anillos.
Not today. I'm not going to work today.
Parece que hoy no va a funcionar.
Oh my gosh, let's see if I can get Gollum again. Maybe. No, bueno.
No está funcionando.
Yeah. Well, Gollum, most of you know who Gollum is, but he's that little character in Lord of the Rings that goes, precious.
Eh, que muchos de ustedes saben cuál es el personaje de Gollum, que es de el Señor de los Anillos, que dice, mi precioso.
So you can ask Jesus if some part of your mind below your level of awareness
Eh, y vamos a ver si en alguna parte de nuestro nivel de inconsciencia
thinks it's precious
creemos que algunas cosas son preciosas,
to withhold heaven, the experience of heaven from you.
de evitar el cielo para nosotros.
Is there some part of the mind going,
¿Hay
hell,
hay alguna parte de la mente que va y dice
that hell is my happiness? Ask them.
que el infierno es mi felicidad? Pregunten.
So he will show you in your mind with the greatest of precision where you think heaven and hell is heaven.
Y te va a mostrar con mucha precisión dónde crees que el cielo es el infierno y el infierno es el cielo.
You can have, there are many beautiful awakening experiences, really.
Pueden haber muchas grandes y hermosas experiencias de despertar.
But for those students that want what this book teaches,
Pero para aquellos estudiantes que quieren lo que este curso enseña,
which is an super purified mind, supreme happiness experience,
que es una mente súper purificada y una experiencia
I'm
de
just
felicidad.
saying, for me, it was having Jesus coach me on every twitch.
Para mí fue dejar que Jesús me guiara en cada molestia.
And refusing, see, accepting heaven is refusing to have these plays in the mind.
Can you repeat that?
Choosing for heaven is saying no to the ego.
Es elegir por el cielo, por la alternativa del cielo, es decirle no al ego.
I will not tolerate this in my mind.
No voy a tolerar esto en mi mente.
Jesus says,
Jesús dice,
the best thing to do with the desert,
la mejor cosa que puedes hacer con el desierto,
well, he said something like, a desert is a desert is a desert.
él dice algo así como, un desierto es un desierto es un desierto.
The best thing to do to leave to do with the desert is leave it.
La mejor cosa que puedes hacer con el desierto es dejarlo,
You know,
abandonarlo.
the theme has been decisiveness, the abject power of the decision to decide.
El punto es la decisión, el punto de donde nos debemos decidir.
That's the ego's favorite thing is I will decide, I.
Y esa es la cosa favorita del ego. Dice, yo decidiré.
The decision and my freedom
La decisión está en mi libre albedrío.
is when I decide.
Es cuando yo decido.
That's duality. See, decision, you have to have two things to decide between.
Y ahí está la mente dividida. Tienen que haber dos cosas para decidir entre ellas dos.
So some being goes, well, you're deciding for heaven.
Y algunos seres dicen, tú estás decidiéndote por el cielo.
That's only because you believe deciding for hell is a good idea in your subconscious mind.
Es porque tú crees en tu mente subconsciente que elegir el infierno es una buena decisión.
Let's go ahead and ask him, Jesus, do I believe somewhere in my subconscious mind choosing hell is a good idea?
Jesús, en mi mente subconsciente, en alguna parte de mi mente subconsciente, creo que es buena idea elegir el cielo, el infierno.
So it's beautiful, you know, we join in light circles and we start learning with Jesus here. Look at this desire and start noticing on the lessons, that's interesting.
Y cuando comenzamos a ver las negaciones y decimos, sí, esto es interesante.
Okay? I need a decision
Necesito tomar
on
una decisión
this eternal holiness abides in me.
de esto de la eterna santidad habita en mí.
Now, we read the lessons and they're very beautiful.
Y nosotros leemos las lecciones y son muy hermosas.
But we want the lessons to detonate on the inside.
Pero nosotros queremos que estas detonen desde adentro.
But what he helped me see
Porque cuando él me ayuda a ver,
is how badly I didn't want one shred of those lessons in my life.
eh, me ayuda a ver que no quiero ni un poquito de esas lecciones,
Not an ooch of that lesson.
ni un tricito de ellas.
So he gives us little decisions to make along the way until we're really willing to commit ourselves to the only decision in this world worth making.
Y hacemos estos pequeños pasos hasta que estamos listos para tomar la única decisión que podemos tomar.
I am deciding to change my mind.
Estoy decidiendo cambiar de mentalidad.
See, there's a decision right there.
Ahí hay una decisión.
Okay, I'm deciding. So it gives us little, we're so used to decisions.
Estamos tan acostumbrados a las decisiones.
He's teaching us how to decide in our favor.
Y él nos está enseñando a elegir a favor nuestro.
Decide that points toward up to heaven.
Decidirnos por el cielo.
You know, no words are real.
Que no, ninguna palabra es real.
But the abject brilliance of a course
Pero lo brillante del curso
is exactly what he says. He's going to use what the ego has used for hell to flip it and point to heaven.
Él está usando lo que el ego utiliza para voltearlo y utilizarlo para llevarnos al cielo.
Eternal holiness abides in me. Jesus, am I really willing to see that with every fiber? Am I willing to celebrate that? Yes or no?
La eterna santidad mora en mí, habita en mí. Estoy dispuesto a ver esto.
This is where honesty of God is so essential, this beautiful honesty of God term.
Y por eso es que la honestidad es tan importante, la honestidad de Dios.
Because we can't see where we're deciding against ourselves.
Porque nosotros no podemos darnos cuenta dónde estamos decidiendo en contra nuestra.
I will make no decisions by myself.
No tomaré decisiones por mi cuenta.
So let's just ask him, Jesus, honesty of God, do I love making decisions by myself? Do I just love that?
Preguntémosle, Jesús, ¿amo tomar decisiones por mi cuenta?
Do I think that's heaven to make all the decisions and it's really hell, Jesus?
Yo creo que tomar decisiones es el cielo cuando en verdad es el infierno.
Ask.
Preguntémosle.
Talk to the man.
Hablemos con el hombre.
This is where self-honesty, radical self-honesty is necessary to transcend.
Aquí es donde la honestidad, la radical honestidad, autohonestidad es esencial.
So there are all kinds of ideas about what awakening is and what it looks like.
Y hay toda esta clase de ideas de qué es el despertar y cómo debe ser.
But a consistent state of joy, that's Jesus's definition.
Y la definición de Jesús es un constante estado de gozo.
See, we want to transcend Okay, great. It's infinite and you're getting glimpses.
Y es infinita, no es que tengas solo destellos.
Anyone who's willing can have an experience and then talk about infinite, and because it's here for everyone, it's not special.
Y puede haber que haya personas que tengan esto de hablar de la totalidad porque está disponible para todos. Esto no es algo especial,
The holy instant's here.
porque el instante santo
It's
está aquí,
infinite, unchanging light.
infinita e inmutable luz.
But we want the fruit of that.
Pero nosotros queremos los frutos de ello.
Like I say, just a fountain of joy on little feet. No matter what you do, and you're in a fountain of joy.
Ser una fuente de gozo en dos pequeños pies, no importa qué.
But the trick of it is, it's so extraordinary, so extraordinary.
Pero el truco aquí es extraordinario.
Every one of these desires, they're just this huge asteroid belt of no to God.
Toda esta cantidad de deseos, todo este cinturón de asteroides de no a Dios,
Every one of them is that wish below the level of awareness for an experience other than happiness.
es un deseo oculto de una experiencia diferente a la felicidad.
So the question is, am I willing to do whatever it takes to transcend all of that nonsense that I made?
Eh, la pregunta es, ¿estoy dispuesto a trascender todo esto que yo he fabricado?
It's only a comfort to talk to Jesus all day and have him show you where you don't want heaven.
Es una alegría preguntarle a Jesús durante todo el día, ¿dónde estás eligiendo esto y no el cielo?
So you ask him, honesty of God,
Así que tú pregúntale en la honestidad de Dios.
you ask him whether
Pregúntale si
Jesus is speaking to you all day necessary
hablar contigo durante todo el día necesariamente
for miracle mindedness.
es necesario para una mentalidad milagrosa.
I hear yes for that, and that's my experience.
Y escucho sí para ello, y esa ha sido mi experiencia.
Constantly asking for his interpretation.
Constantemente preguntarle a él por su interpretación.
Constantly following him because he's going to bring you to the places in your mind where you're saying no to yourself.
Constantemente seguirlo porque él te va a llevar a los lugares en tu mente donde te estás diciendo no a ti mismo.
So it's really beautiful that you're willing to, join the light circles and keep looking.
Es muy hermoso la voluntad de unirse en los círculos de luz y seguir y mantenerse mirando.
And build the relationship with him.
Y construir esta relación con él.
But do not underestimate how tricky the ego is, that it will start even blocking the light circles.
Pero no podemos subestimar lo tramposo que es el ego, que puede bloquear incluso los círculos de luz.
You need the side by side of 100% following. That's how you get the miracles. That's how you get them on a silver platter, a bunch of them following.
Tienes que ir hombro a hombro y tienes que ir 100% en seguirlo, y así vas a tener una gran cantidad de milagros.
See, the world's so upside down in the mind, we can't see that every time we follow, you're pointed up toward heaven.
Porque el mundo está muy invertido, el cielo y el infierno, y seguirlo es apuntar hacia el cielo.
That is so precious when you get that, when you follow them enough that suddenly it dawns in your mind.
Eso es muy precioso cuando lo sigues. Vas a tener mucho en tu mente,
in your direct experience.
en tu propia experiencia.
That what he says in that guidance worksheet will be your direct experience.
Porque como él lo dice en la hoja de milagros, va a ser tu directa experiencia.
Is me doing what you're asking me to do,
Es hacer lo que tú me pides que yo haga,
accepting all the love the Father has for me?
aceptar todo el amor que tiene el Padre para mí.
And when that click, we have to follow enough because you got the protest sign up all the time.
Pero tú tienes que seguirlo lo suficiente porque tú tienes la pancarta de protesta.
But as you follow and he gets to show you fully things, you get to see things in wholeness that way.
Porque cuando tú lo sigues, puedes ver todo, puedes ver la plenitud.
The ego wants to choose. It wants to choose against itself all the time, against God, against God, against God.
El ego quiere elegir siempre en contra tuya, en contra de Dios en contra de Dios.
But the challenge is you don't know where that's for me. I'll just speak for me. I could not see where that's happening.
Y el reto, lo digo por mí, yo no podía darme cuenta de dónde eso estaba pasando.
I needed him and still do. Oh my gosh, that partnership, it's a collaborative venture, just like we said in Satsang 2 weeks ago. It's a collaboration with him.
Y no me daba cuenta cuánto lo necesitaba, pero esto es una empresa de colaboración, hay que colaborar con él.
See, you're waiting. I can see it. I'm waiting for the enlightenment fairy to ding me on the head. Come on, give it to me.
Y yo recuerdo que yo creía que el despertar venía y me pegaba aquí en la cabeza.
We could wait a long time for that.
Y decía, dámelo a mí. Y podemos esperar por ello un gran rato.
But and you can have, as I've said, beautiful awakening experience. And if you can have, but remember, it's a decision. What you see is a decision in your mind.
Y sí, tú puedes tener experiencias de despertar, pero te das cuenta que es una decisión en la mente.
Okay, you don't want a glimpse.
Pero tú no quieres solo un destello.
You want the 100% celebration.
Tú quieres el 100% de la celebración.
But you cannot do it, this is my experience, without turning into it and looking at everything directly and unsparingly.
Pero tú no lo vas a lograr si no giras y miras completamente hacia él.
Jesus, whatever you're going to show me, I'm going to look. Give it to me.
Cualquier cosa que me vayas a mostrar, Jesús, la voy a mirar, dámela.
Then I could feel myself, oh, I want to back up. You just want to, woo, maybe not so much, Jesus.
Y luego queremos pedalear hacia atrás y decimos, no, quizá no me lo des tanto, Jesús.
But the only way he can do that and show you everything is if you do your part.
Pero la única forma como él lo puede hacer es si tú haces tu parte.
And the only way to do your part is
Y la única manera que tú haces tu parte es
where do you want me to go?
¿dónde quieres que vaya?
What do you want me to do?
¿Qué quieres que haga?
What do you want me to say?
¿Qué quieres que diga?
I mean, that doesn't lead much, does it?
Eso es más o menos el seguir.
But the relief, I was contemplating that today, the abject relief of just doing whatever he says. I mean, it's relaxing.
Pero la liberación de esto es increíble, es relajante.
I decide which miracles you perform.
Yo decido qué milagros debes llevar a cabo.
See, when you don't follow him, you're deciding what miracles you need. You're interfering right out the gate then.
Y cuando tú no lo sigues, estás interfiriendo en los milagros. Tú estás interfiriendo en el portón del cielo.
The only way you can open up your mind enough to him for him to help you heal the deepest layers of your mind
La única forma que él te puede ayudar a limpiar las más profundas niveles de tu mente
is to be willing to say yes no matter what he asks you to do.
es decirle sí, no importa lo que él te pida.
And stand into the ego, which is not going to be happy about it.
Y mantenerse, porque el ego no va a estar muy feliz con ello.
What the ego does is it dives deeper in the delusion and it goes, Jesus is going to be with me wherever I go.
Y
Oh, what a
vamos
trick.
a entrarnos profundo en la ilusión y vamos a decir, Jesús va conmigo donde quiera que yo voy.
And you have to learn the code words of the ego when it says that.
Y tenemos que aprender las palabras código que usa el ego para eso.
Whenever it says things like that, like, oh, he'll be with me wherever I go.
Siempre que decimos, Él estará conmigo donde quiera que yo voy,
It's saying, I do not want to see the truth.
estoy diciendo, yo no quiero ver la verdad.
But isn't he with me everywhere I go?
Pero luego Él no va conmigo donde quiera que yo voy.
Okay. Of course he always is, but he can't help you if you only crack the window to let a little air in.
Pero claro que sí, va contigo, pero Él no te va a poder ayudar cuando tú no le abres un espacio pequeño en la ventana.
He's teaching you step by step how
Y
to
Él,
choose for heaven.
él
Here's
te,
how to choose for heaven and say no to the other option.
Él te está enseñando paso a paso dónde elegir el cielo y decirle no a la otra opción.
So that's the question. Are you willing to see everything that he would show you?
Esa es la pregunta. ¿Estás dispuesto a ver cada cosa que Él te muestre?
See, that's when you really move into miracle. That's the last unanswered question. I'm willing to see it. Give it to me.
Eso es entrar en la mentalidad milagrosa. Eso es la última, responder la última pregunta sin respuesta. Dámelo a mí.
So few students of a course have been willing to say yes to the last unanswered question.
Solo algunos pocos estudiantes del curso están dispuestos a decirle sí a la última pregunta, sí, aún sin responder.
See, when you say yes to the last unanswered question,
Cuando tú le dices sí a la última pregunta, aún sin responder,
that is the decision in your mind to see every denial against yourself.
es decirle sí a ver todas las negaciones a ti mismo.
And that's at the point at which you can move into miracle mindedness. Your mind is open enough and you're following enough. It cracks everything open because he can really get in there and show you everything.
Y así es tener una mentalidad abierta donde él te pueda venir y mostrar todo.
You go, at least my experience, you're the happy learner. You go and show me 24/7. Show me, and start letting him hack out some of these delusions, these desires.
Esa es mi experiencia, es estar dispuesto, muéstrame para que te muestre todos estos deseos.
But if we block our mind, see, you can't get to that final, I'm asking, you can't get to that final decision.
Pero si nosotros bloqueamos nuestra mente, no podemos lograr esa última decisión final.
Heaven is a decision I must make.
decisión de el cielo es la alternativa por la cual me debo decidir.
Because we don't see we're deciding against heaven. It's so tricky.
Porque nosotros no nos damos cuenta dónde estamos eligiendo en contra del cielo. Es muy engañoso.
So we have to follow 100%. That's the only way he can show us all the places in the mind where we're deciding against heaven.
Por eso tenemos que seguirlo 100%, porque él nos tiene que mostrar dónde estamos eligiendo en contra del cielo en la mente
But
subconsciente.
no, the ego has its little fiefdom there. It's going to protect it.
Pero el ego va a querer proteger esto.
I find that there's a desire that the ego believes if no change enters into it, see, that's heaven. No change into the ego thought system is heaven.
El ego cree que no haya cambios en el cielo, en él es el cielo.
So willingness is opening the mind, the availability to be shown.
La voluntad es abrir la mente a es que no sea mostrado.
100% following is the availability to be shown.
Y seguir al 100% es la disponibilidad de que ser mostrado.
It takes a lot of determination to see just exactly what he says.
Se requiere muchísima determinación para ver esto y hacer lo que él nos diga que debamos hacer.
To have this detonate on the inside
Dejar que esto detone interiormente.
is happiness. Heaven is a decision I must make.
Es felicidad. El cielo es la alternativa por la que me debo decidir.
Jesus, am I willing to make the decision for heaven?
Jesús, ¿estoy dispuesto a tomar la decisión por el cielo?
It's just freedom. It's pure freedom in that.
Eso es libertad, pura libertad en ello.
As I've said many times, this is how stunning A Course in Miracles is.
Como lo he dicho muchas veces, eso todo es lo maravilloso del curso.
Because once you establish a relationship with him,
Porque
okay,
cuando tú estableces tu relación con él,
you've got the most powerful symbol in consciousness for transcending the world that you're communicating with.
tú tienes el símbolo más grande que te estás comunicando con él para trascender el mundo.
To show you every scrap that would deny the Father's will.
Para que te muestre cada cosa donde tú estás negando la voluntad del Padre.
And then to show you how powerful you are, what the power there is in the decision for heaven.
Y lo poderoso y que tienes el poder de decidirte por el cielo.
The happy laughter in seeing that you've been choosing against yourself all along.
La sonrisa feliz de darte cuenta de que tú has estado eligiendo el infierno durante todo el tiempo.
And you'll see it's nothing, all that noise and complaining, and it's nothing.
Y ver que todo este ruido y estas quejas no son nada.
It's really the commitment, he's saying, to not make any decisions by yourself.
Él dice que es el compromiso de no tomar decisiones por nuestra cuenta.
You know, as I've said many times, when I first started asking him everything,
Y él me dijo, cuando yo comencé a preguntarle acerca de todo,
And I asked him, Jesus, am I turning into some kind of Jesus Nazi? Jesus.
Jesús, estoy como volviéndome como una nazi de Jesús.
It's really a spectrum from I don't want to have nothing to do with Jesus
Pero eso era simplemente una reflexión de que no querían nada saber de Jesús.
to talking to him all day long.
Que no quería hablar durante todo el día.
See,
Hasta hablar con él todo el día, perdón.
it's such a celebration. You'll start to see, as soon as you go back and ask him a question, it's like infinite.
Y te das cuenta que cada vez que le preguntas algo a él es como ir a lo infinito.
Right? Instead of going into the denial like that, you're going, what is infinite? What's the big picture? What's above the battlefield here?
En lugar de es ir por encima del campo de batalla con él.
Until it comes in your direct experience that talking to that voice is Holy Communion. It's a reminder of Holy Communion.
Y hasta que te das cuenta que hablar esta voz es la Santa Comunión.
It's so interesting that there just isn't a way to see what you're really going for.
Esto te lleva a que no sabemos. Can you repeat that?
No.
Okay.
Well, you can't, because of the way consciousness has structured itself to delude itself so deeply.
Porque la forma como la conciencia se engaña a sí misma y que es muy profunda.
You know, you can talk about what you think it is, and you can talk about infinite.
Y tú puedes hablar de qué significa esto, qué significa lo infinito.
But the fruit of the light, the fruit of the holy instant is just buried under this asteroid belt of desires. It's completely obscured.
Pero esto está totalmente oscurecido, enterrado en la mente subconsciente.
So every waking moment is permeated not by one of these, by all of the ones that are below your level of awareness, permeates every single experience.
Pero cada uno de estos deseos permea cada una de tus experiencias.
You know, thankfully he breaks it down and we look at one of them at a time.
Menos mal él las parte y miramos una a la vez.
So until you start following them 100% and just letting them just take you to the basement until they're done, you know, so they're done, there are none of those scraps creeping around.
Hasta que tú te decides a seguirlo 100% y él va profundo al sótano y lo logras.
And then it dawns, you know, you see this need not be. You're not just quoting a course. You're just going, oh, that need not be, because I need not torture myself.
Y llegas a un punto donde dices, esto no tiene por qué ser así. Te das cuenta que el curso, vives el curso, que esto no tiene por qué ser así.
You can become decisive with the devil and just go, no, I'm getting a miracle. No, I'm getting my miracle.
Te vuelves decisivo con el ego. Te dice, no, simplemente voy a obtener el milagro.
Heaven is a decision I must make.
El cielo es la alternativa por la que me debo decidir.
So it's not like, well, yeah, I guess I'm going to kind of get heaven.
Sí, no es una cosa como, voy a obtener el cielo.
I'm asking them, you know, this is my experience. I'm asking them if it's pedal to the metal. If you want to collapse time with them and partner up, let's go.
Y le estoy preguntando, porque si queremos esto es al fondo, ir como el pedal hasta el fondo.
And this is the way he shows you how you construct form and then reference it so you can have the experience that you want to have and blame everything on the form. It's insane.
Es la forma como él te muestra que tú quieres estas experiencias que está teniendo y que quieres culpar a la forma.
It's just time to get to the happy laughter part and see, okay, I chose against myself, I chose hell, and I thought it was heaven.
Tenemos que ya llegar al punto de de la risa feliz, donde nos damos cuenta que yo elegí el infierno
And I'm
pensando
not
que era el
doing that
cielo
anymore.
y que no lo,
Decisiveness. I am.
y que no tengo por qué hacerlo más y de ser decidido.
But every time you don't follow, you're choosing hell. You're just
Y
choosing it. I mean,
cada vez que no lo sigues, estás eligiendo el infierno.
that's all, you know. There's no other option. There's either celebration of divinity or, sorry, Jesus, I got stuff to do. It's ridiculous.
No hay otra opción. Es la celebración o Jesús, tengo otras cosas que hacer.
Why do we do it? Because we can.
We can
Because we
or
can
we
torture
cannot.
ourselves if we
Ah,
want to.
ok. ¿Y por qué lo hacemos? Porque queremos torturarnos a nosotros mismos.
It's not until it's a decision is made not to value hell. That's just that simple. It's really that simple.
Es la decisión por el cielo, es así de sencillo.
Oh, I just thank Jesus for showing me all the places that it's upside down. You know,
Y yo estoy agradecida con Jesús porque me ha mostrado los lugares donde esto está invertido.
here's where you need a miracle. Give me another one, Jesus. Come on. I've just gotten to that miracle mode. Let's go, Jesus. Give me another one. Let's go. Can I look at another one?
Entonces yo entré en el modo de milagros. Dame otro milagro, Jesús. Necesito ver más. Miro y dame otro milagro.
You know, in between they'd be yelling and screaming. But then you get back in there and you go, no, let's go, Jesus, show me, show me, show me.
En la mitad tú puedes gritar y patalear, pero luego llegas al punto donde dice Jesús, muéstrame, muéstrame.
There are 500 at least in a Course in Miracles, at least.
Hay como 500 como en el curso de milagros, deseos.
And some of them, you can see it when you do chapter 20.
Y algunos de ellos, cuando tú haces capítulo 20, tú lo puedes ver.
There's 80 in here.
Hay 80 aquí.
But you ask, and it's good. Chapter 20 is a great thing to do.
Y el capítulo 20 es una buena cosa que hacer. Pregúntale.
You're establishing a relationship with, you're talking to him.
Tú comienzas a establecer una relación con él, comienzas a hablar con él.
He's teaching your role and his role in miracles.
Él te dice cuál es su papel, cuál es el papel tuyo en los milagros.
He's showing you where you have heaven and hell upside down.
Él te muestra dónde tienes invertido el cielo y el infierno.
So it's good. You can start to establish the relationship you're going to need to get through all 400 course.
Y sí, comienzas tú a establecer una relación con él, pero tú tienes que ir por los otros 400 deseos del curso de milagros.
What I realized, what he taught me in working with him,
lo que él me enseñó trabajando con él,
I would not have trusted him to completely help me release my mind fully of every one of these.
Sorry, I lost the idea. Can you repeat?
I would not have released every single one of these and trusted him enough to work with him.
no hubiese podido liberar y confiar lo suficientemente en él,
I can see that because we wouldn't have had a strong enough relationship if I had not followed him a lot.
eh, mm, y no porque yo no tenía una relación tan fuerte con él porque no lo había seguido lo suficiente.
To the point, you want to get to the point where your mind clicks over to decisiveness on these miracles. He tells me I've got this. I am not valuing this. I am getting the miracle. Will you help me, Jesus?
Pero tienes que llegar al punto donde estás decidido, donde dices, Jesús, dame esto, ayúdame con esto.
But you can't really grok these without the following. Really, because you're saying, "Oh, I want to give up this desire," but you still want the desire because you're not following. When you're not following, you want these desires, scraps of them existing in your unconscious mind.
Pero si tú no lo sigues, aún tienes alguna parte de los deseos que quieres mantener en tu mente.
So this is a good trust building relationship, learning how to work with them on miracles, chapter 20.
El capítulo 20 es una forma de aprender a trabajar con él y construir esta relación.
You know, training, I could see it, where my mind would wander off and it helped me learn to go, no, I'm going to see this and not go off somewhere, but I'm going to look with Jesus right at what he's pointing for me, right there.
Y no es apuntar directamente a donde él nos está apuntando, mirar donde él nos está apuntando y no divagar, simplemente mirar lo que nos dice.
We ask him, he points, but we have to look and be willing to be shown all the energy, just this horrific amount of tension in all of these in the subconscious mind.
Entonces nosotros tenemos que estar dispuestos, él nos muestra, pero tiene que haber esa voluntad de ver dónde estamos eligiendo esto en nuestra mente.
But when you get decisive, see, we have to be decisive first. We want God to show us everything. No, we're the ones that blocking God, so we got to be decisive on saying no to what the miscreation is.
Y nosotros tenemos que ser decididos para ver lo que es la creación falsa, la fabricación falsa.
And then say, I am not valuing this, and I'm going, will you take me all the way? And then he can take you, and no scraps. So each one of these gets cleaned out. There's no scraps of it left. Boom, boom, boom.
Es no dejar ningún residuo en esto.
Okay? Like some of these control and out of control.
Hay algunos de estos como que son un control o fuera de control.
You got to follow to fully purify the mind. There isn't another way.
Tú tienes que seguirlo para purificar la mente, no hay otra manera.
Yeah, that's just the word of the day, decisiveness. Choose for God. I choose.
Esa es la palabra del día, decisión. Yo elijo.
Without even really being able to tell what that means even. You're saying yes, you don't even know what you're saying yes to.
Tú vas a decir sí y ni siquiera sabes a qué le estás diciendo que sí.
That's the trust.
Esa es la confianza.
You see, you can decide for heaven, but because of all the asteroid belt, you don't even really know what you're deciding for.
Y tú puedes decidirte por el cielo, pero con todos estos deseos del cinturón de asteroides, no te das cuenta de por qué estás decidiéndote.
But it's just power. I choose to cease to deny myself heaven. Dun, dun, I'm done. You're done.
Estoy eligiendo dejar de negarme a mí mismo el cielo. Y eso es todo.
He is my partner in showing me every single place in my mind where I'm deciding against heaven.
Y él es mi compañero que me está mostrando dónde estoy eligiendo en contra del cielo.
So good. Go for Jesus.
Bueno, vamos por Jesús.
So I'm going to put this out there for any kind of questions or questions about talking to Jesus or
Y ahora nos abrimos a preguntas, preguntas de hablar con Jesús
what he's showing you.
o qué te ha mostrado.
Or maybe you would share some of the answers you heard from Jesus from some of the questions that we asked during the session.
O si alguien quiere compartir algo de las preguntas que se hicieron en la sesión.
What did you hear?
¿Qué escuchan?
Josie, did you want to share?
Yeah, sorry, I had it on mute.
No, it's wonderful. Hold on. Let's see. I'll spotlight you so we can all see you. Okay. Thank you, beloved.
I guess I have a question, or it's been gnawing in the back of my mind the whole time that you were talking, like to ask, are these desires, do you really think that these desires are ever completely, annihilated?
Una pregunta que me está surgiendo, como me ha estado surgiendo durante la charla, es, ¿todos estos deseos pueden ser realmente eliminados?
Yes, that's our function.
Sí, esa es
They're
nuestra
not
función
natural.
natural.
It's the desire for an experience other than God.
Es el deseo de una experiencia diferente de Dios.
Okay, well, that's the answer then.
Bueno, entonces esa es la respuesta.
So if their desires for delusion, so of course we don't want a scrap of them. Not a scrap.
Y sí, son deseos de engañarnos y no queremos que quede ni un residuo de ellos.
Now, some beings really kind of have a heyday with this and say it's not possible and that it's going to lead to depression.
Y dice algunos seres que quizá esto no es posible y que nos va a llevar esto a la depresión.
Look, there's a reason why Buddha said desirelessness is nirvana.
Por eso el Buda decía, no tener deseos es el nirvana.
See, if there's one, so desire is I want an experience of other.
Porque
You have to
un
want
deseo es tengo el deseo de un otro.
Lena. Okay, she's going to take you outside, okay? Yes, that's a good boy. Okay, go. Go with Lena. Go, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. The little brown eyes looking up at you.
Esos pequeños ojos cafés mirándome así.
He's very sweet.
Es
So,
muy
Well, that's what I guess why I'm asking, because it seems like these desires are like a web. And
Josie?
I keep forgetting about the interpreter.
Can you repeat that, Josie?
I lost my train of thought.
Did you say these desires are like a web? They're
Sí.
inner.
That's what I've said. Like, it feels like this is not going to happen overnight, because these desires are like a web, and you release one, but then another one comes in that is sort of a variant of that, and it's like they just keep sort of.
Sí,
Yeah,
que Josie dice que se ve como muy difícil porque estos deseos son como una gran red.
Yes, they're all interlocking. Because they're all in your experience now. This is the trick. This is a brutal trick, boy.
Pero todos esos son tus experiencias ahora. Ese es el truco aquí, el engaño.
Like if you have all these spices mixed into a pot.
Si tú tienes
Double
todos
blend.
estos picantes en un recipiente,
Okay, so, and he knows how to go in and take all those flavors out that we think taste so good, but they're the flavors of hell in there.
pero él sabe cómo quitar estos sabores porque nosotros creemos que saben rico, pero realmente son el infierno.
It's so powerful. See, because in the light circles, we're coming in. Okay, here's the lesson, and you learn how to work with him on the desires, right? He'll give you one, and you work with him to develop the relationship.
Y así en los círculos y en el capítulo 20, él nos va mostrando cuáles son los deseos y comenzamos a generar esta relación con él.
But it is so infinitely powerful when you have an upset and you go, no talking about what it is, no storyline, because you don't know. And you just go, show me. And he goes, look at that desire.
Pero es muy poderoso cuando tenemos una molestia y no nos quedamos en tratar de entenderla, sino que vamos y decimos, no entiendo nada, muéstrame.
You know, you want control more than God, you know, and shows it to you.
Tú quieres el control más que a Dios y tú dices, muéstramelo.
That's when you really start getting some traction with him, because he's just coming in and you don't spend any time, blah, blah, blah. This is what's happening. You get your mind tuned in and it meets him right at what you need to see. Look at this.
Entonces, tú simplemente vas y que él te apunte y te muestre exactamente dónde tienes que ver.
It's like, oh, let me see. Do I have? Oh, yes, I have it. You know, and the energy of it just comes into your mind. It's like, oh, every cell wants that. You know, it just. But that's the release. You just, instead of having this wanting energy down there and then manifesting all these experiences, it expresses fully, God, I want that. I want control more than God in every cell. But that's it. It's releasing that subconscious tension, the miracle constipation.
Okay, you are no, give me space to translate.
Okay.
Estaba Kay diciendo que no, que I lost the idea, sorry.
Well, he just shows you, it releases energy. Miracles are, lack of miracles is tension. It's subconscious tension. You're wound.
La falta de milagros es tensión, es tensión.
So as you learn to go with him and you rest back, and then he reveals to you the energetic, the wanting, he'll help reveal it. It's like, oh.
Y entonces cuando dejas que él te revele ese gusto, es como como que algo se eleva.
He gets in there, here it is, and then he shows it to you. Am I done yet? You get the next big wave. It's like riding waves of this, free in your mind. It's wonderful.
Es como montarse en diferentes olas. Uno se libera de una ola y viene otra. Y es como liberar la mente así.
Oh, that's good. I don't have a mouse. How great is that? No one needs a mouse. Let me see if I can get a mouse back. There we go. That's going to work much better. I just want to see you because you're kind of blocked. Okay.
Parece que el mouse ya está funcionando.
It's so precise, the level of precision, right to what it is you need to see. He shows you, you lie back, he gives it to you, release the energy of it, and then you get enthusiastic about it. Give me more, let's go. And you just release and you relax. You just, It's
Entonces
permanent relaxation.
cuando él te va mostrando es una permanente relajación.
It's permanent relax. Is that all?
Es un permanente relajarse permanentemente.
So I'm just saying yes.
Y
They're
yo
not
simplemente digo
natural.
sí. Porque no son
How-
naturales.
If there's one, how can you desire anything? You are everything, you have everything. It's an idea.
Pero porque tú ya lo eres todo. Simplemente esto es una idea.
So, people can keep their desires if they want. just happiness.
Y sí, las personas pueden tener, los seres pueden mantener sus deseos, pero soltarlos es felicidad.
So it's desires, and then out of desires, you get beliefs and thoughts and feelings, and you staple a meaning to it, and you get this kerfuffle of thoughts up here, just all this stuff going on. But if you go to the root, cut the root with Jesus, all those things that are the top, the thoughts and the feelings, all that goes collapse.
Pero entonces esto es como, están los deseos, las creencias, los pensamientos, pero si él nos lleva a la raíz y la corta, todo se colapsa.
So thank you, Josie. We're going for the root, right?
Gracias, Josie. Vamos por la raíz. ¿Ok?
We're going all the way, right?
Vamos todo el camino. ¿Ok?
Let's clear it up. Thank you.
So worth it. I love you, Josie. Love having you with us.
Muy dignos. Gracias, Josie. Nos encanta tenerte.
Just in the beginning, like now, for me to be like, you just get nervous. You're like, oh, how many are there, and why is it taking so long? And
Yes.
well, you say there's 80, maybe there's 500, but in my mind, I could make 1,000 different ones, variations of everything. And I guess there really aren't that many variations.
Well, it's helpful to remember that desires are finite and you are infinite.
Tú tienes que darte cuenta que los milagros son, que los deseos son finitos y que tú eres infinito.
See, because the ego would go, look how many are, well, you're it. You're the ones generating it, so I'm not listening to you. I'm going to listen to the one that's going to get me through this forest of delusion.
No voy a escuchar al ego que te está diciendo que tienes muchísimo, sino va a escuchar el que va a través del engaño y la ilusión.
And then the more I don't know if I can get him up here. Come here. He's going now. But the more I saw, the more I realized I needed him. You know what I mean? I'm never getting out of this. I just saw it. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out without his help.
Entre más veía, me daba cuenta cuánto realmente lo necesitaba, que definitivamente no lo hubiese logrado sin él.
You know, that's why I wanted the laser. That's why I started teaming up with him, going, I'm not going to wait a month, which you can see it over and over, people looking at desires for a month. It's good to look. But the more you see that the decisiveness is the key.
Entre más tú miras, te das cuenta que la decisión es la clave, ser decididos.
And I think you brought that up too earlier this week, maybe Josie, I can't remember, but it's decisiveness. The more decisive, I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm getting my miracle. The faster these things can go.
Y creo que tú trajiste este tema, la decisión. Entre más decididos, más rápido podemos ir.
And the more following, you blow them out. See, if without following it, it hangs on to it. That's how the ego is tricky, and it hangs on to all these desires.
Porque ahí es donde el ego es engañoso, donde quiere mantener estos deseos.
So that really discipline of mind to go, no, I'm going to follow. I'm going to find out. There's just something that clicked in my mind. It's like, I'm going to find out if this is true. You get determined. It's like,
Sí, es donde entras tú con esta disciplina, donde me doy a dar cuenta que es la verdad, decidido a ver qué es la verdad.
and then you start seeing, you know,
Thank you.
the power rests with me to choose. I'm choosing those miracles.
Y el poder descansa en nosotros. Nosotros estamos eligiendo esos milagros.
That's happiness.
Eso es felicidad.
See how powerful we are.
Ver cuán poderosos somos.
Thank you, Josie. Go for
Gracias,
God.
Josie.
Thank you.
Rocket ship. Those are good questions. Keep them coming. This is for everybody.
Esas son muy buenas preguntas. Manténganse preguntando. Esto es para todos.
Okay, Renee, you have a pregunta, question?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could look at one of the questions you asked.
Me estaba preguntando si podemos mirar una de las preguntas que tú hiciste.
Which one did you want to look at?
I don't know.
No, ¿qué pregunta quieres mirar? Y ella dice, no sé.
Maybe the last one that you asked.
Quizá la última que hiciste.
Well, which one is Jesus is telling you need, it's most helpful for you to look at?
¿Cuál te está diciendo Jesús que es la más útil para ti que mires?
Did you cover or did you ask about the flip, heaven and hell?
Tú
Like,
preguntaste acerca de dónde está invertido el cielo y el infierno.
Well, it feels helpful to ask him, do I relish not being decisive in my mind?
Sería útil preguntar si estoy disfrutando no ser decidido en mi mente.
Yes.
Sí.
Yeah.
Do I think, let's ask him what that is, because we're talking about the flip, so let's ask him where the secondary gain is.
Sí, tú estabas hablando de dónde está invertido. Entonces preguntemos dónde está el juego secundario de ello.
Jesus, do I feel like I hear it's happiness? Jesus, do I believe it's happiness?
Yo
Not
escucho felicidad.
decisive.
Jesús, yo creo que es la felicidad no ser decidido,
Yes.
no decidirme. Sí.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This one has a lot of secondary gain in this one.
Este tiene mucho juego secundario.
And just for those that are not familiar with secondary gain, that's the benefit. So it's the misperceived benefit in not being decisive in the mind.
Y para los que no están familiarizados con
Yeah.
la ganancia secundaria, es ver que esto tiene un beneficio.
Jesus, here it comes the flip. Jesus, do I think all my happiness in this world comes from not being decisive in my mind for heaven?
Yo creo, Jesús, que toda la felicidad viene de no decidirme por el cielo en mi mente.
Yes.
Okay, so do I think it's my power? See, there's power in that too. Do I think I get power from not being decisive?
También escucho que poder, creo que tengo poder de no decidirme, de no ser decidido.
Yes.
Sí.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
Silencio, hello. Aw.
okay, so okay, do I think that's power comes from that?
Yo creo que él viene, obtengo poder de ello.
Yes.
Sí.
Okay. And there's safety in it. Do I think all my safety comes from not being decisive in my mind? Oh, I can feel that.
Creo que la seguridad viene de no ser decidido en mi mente.
You get to the point where he shows it to you and you just know it immediately.
Y cuando esto te es revelado, tú dices no inmediatamente.
Yeah.
It's like this book. As soon as you started talking about these, I'm going, oh my gosh, I still have all those.
Es como ir en el libro y decir, uff, ¿tengo todo esto?
Yeah, oh, a lot of safety in that.
Hay muchísima seguridad en ello.
For not being decisive.
Yes.
Por no decidirnos.
See, that's wound up into all the mind wandering he talks about. You see, we just think that mind wandering is where all the happiness and the safety and all of our power comes from.
Y ahí es donde está la divagación mental, que creemos que con esta divagación mental está nuestra felicidad y nuestra seguridad.
So the question is, Jesus, am I willing to see? This is where the decisiveness becomes so important.
Jesús, estoy dispuesto a ver, aquí es donde la decisión es tan importante.
It's valuable to be shown where heaven and hell is upside down. So
Es muy útil ver que nos muestre dónde tenemos el cielo y el infierno invertidos.
you know, it's valuable to see, oh, I think by not being decisive about heaven in my mind, that's heaven. This is a
Yes.
lot.
Porque creemos que no ser decididos en la mente, eso es el cielo.
That all my happiness comes from not being decisive in my mind. See, if I can be out there and
Que obtengo el cielo de no ser decidido en la mente, de estar divagando.
Well, it's like making decisions on my own is
Es-
decisiveness to me.
es- Que ser decidido es tomar decisiones por mi cuenta para mí.
That's how I'm
Jesus.
seeing it as yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So that's good, Renee. This is good for everybody. So, Jesus, do I think all my power and happiness comes from making decisions on my own? Yes or no?
Esto es muy útil, René. Creo que toda mi felicidad viene de tomar decisiones por mi cuenta.
Sí or no?
Yes.
So as long as those desires that flip that heaven comes from not being decisive in terms when I say decisive being no to the ego.
Y cuando creemos que obtenemos el cielo de no ser decididos a decirle no al ego,
Well, it's going to be really, we're going to be following the ego around like a rat down a hole all day because we think our
vamos a
decision-
estar como unas ratas dando vueltas al
So,
al agujero.
when we're talking, it's not to make everybody panic and go, "I'll never get out of this maze." It's not about that.
Can you repeat that, Kay?
It's not about going, "Oh, holy smokes, there's 500 of these, I'll never get out." It's not the purpose of sharing that.
No se trata de que digamos, mira, uy, son 500 de estos, no lo voy a lograr. No se trata de compartir eso.
It's so to see that if you want to get out in any kind of short time, that he's your partner to show you, like we're talking about the flip where you have it heaven and upside down.
El punto es ver que con estos deseos es muy importante trabajar con él para que él te muestre dónde tienes invertido el cielo y el infierno.
But you see, if there's that mixed desire, that secondary gain, if there's heaven in a desire not to be decisive, and I think all my heaven comes from that.
Y sí creo que todo el cielo viene de este deseo de no ser decididos.
And all my heaven comes from me making my own decisions.
Que todo el cielo viene de tomar mis propias decisiones.
Well, where do you go with that? You're checkmate. You're stuck.
Entonces estás bloqueado.
Until we're willing to see the truth that it's impossible for happiness to come from us making our own decision.
Hasta que te das cuenta que es imposible obtener la felicidad por tu propia decisión.
So you can move so quickly. You can move so quickly through these. Josie's going, okay, there's a long list, but if you want to move through them, and when you build up the relationship with them to the point where your mind goes, there's no benefit to a single one of these desires.
Pero así como yo sí lo apuntaba, son muchos, pero cuando te das cuenta que no hay ningún beneficio de ninguno de ellos,
See, and then you can work with them because you go, okay, I'm getting my miracle. There's no time. Again, it's helpful for a time to see heaven and hell upside down, but once you get that, it's happening every time. You can say, no, it's not worth it. I'm going for the miracle.
pero entonces cuando te das cuenta que tienes todo invertido y que esto no es valioso y dices, voy a obtener mi milagro, no importa qué, pues eso.
You're constantly jumping on board with them, constantly jumping on board through following, through having him show you exactly where you need a miracle.
Es constantemente estarnos montando con él a bordo para que te muestre exactamente dónde necesitas el milagro.
But so the challenge isn't really the number of these, because we're powerful enough at any moment to say, okay, I'm not doing that anymore.
Y el reto no es la cantidad, porque nosotros somos suficientemente poderosos para decir, no quiero más esto.
Like now.
Insanity doesn't work.
Jesús, la demencia no funciona.
So it's equal opportunity to have decisive and choose for heaven. It's always here.
Es la misma oportunidad que tengo de escoger la santidad, porque está aquí.
But the probability, because of how consciousness constructed the delusion,
Pero la probabilidad porque el ego construyó la ilusión, el engaño,
it's constructed to have heaven and hell upside down in the experience.
porque está construida para invertir el cielo y el infierno.
So seeing the power to buy this, to stop buying the ticket to delusion and be decisive for heaven is everything in this.
Dejar de comprar el tiquete hacia el infierno y ser decididos por el cielo.
This just my example. It takes a lot of looking. I mean, a lot of looking.
Y requiere mucho mirar, mucho mirar.
You know, and you're worth it. You're worth it. He's going to support you. He's going to provide the spaciousness if you follow him just to do the pure looking that's going to move you through that asteroid belt in the least amount of time.
Y tú eres digna de ello porque él te va a ayudar a pasar por este cinturón de asteroides en cualquier momento.
But it's like the big three that has to be transcended.
Pero es como el gran árbol que tiene que ser trascendido.
The desire to feel out of control.
Los tres grandes que tienen que ser trascendidos. El deseo de control.
The desire for control, to want to feel control, in control.
El deseo de sentirme fuera de control.
And then the relishing of just flat out fighting God. Just love it. You can see it.
Y el de disfrutar pelear con Dios. Tú lo amas, lo puedes ver.
But you know, in the play, I've just seen once your mind is decisive, it doesn't take long to clear these, but we're so indecisive and believe we're weak and we can't do it. We get involved in the miracles and
Y sí, cuando tu mente es totalmente decidida, pero nosotros queremos decir que somos débiles, que no podemos.
and we want to be armchair, sit in the armchair to wake up. It just won't. I'm just saying.
Y queremos estar en la silla y eso no funciona.
It probably won't happen because it's relishing the desired experiences there. That's how the ego keeps its feeling of being in control.
Y porque así es como el ego mantiene el control.
So if you, the faster, this is my experience, the faster your mind, you make these decisive decisions. If he shows it to me, I'm getting my miracle. I can see how fruitful that was and is.
Y ser decididos nos muestra los frutos o sea, decidirnos nos va a mostrar los frutos.
The hardest, quote unquote, part is the indecisive, that the decision at the unconscious level of feeling, of the experience, having the experience have more value than the experience of God.
La parte más difícil es ver que I lost the idea. Can you repeat that?
The value in the experience of something other than God is greater than the experience of God, the wanting of the experience of God.
El valor de una experiencia de no Dios es más valiosa que la experiencia de Dios.
So then, you know, he can kind of help you. You can chip away and it's good. You keep working with them until you're willing to finally say, okay, I am not valuing one of these.
Pero entonces tú te mantienes trabajando con él hasta que llegas al punto donde dices, no valoraré ninguno más de ellos.
And when that decisiveness comes in the mind, that's when you can really, you just sit back and he just delivers it out, you know, and you just.
Y cuando esta decisión entra a la mente, como que todo se fluye.
Can I look at that, Jesus? Can I look at this? What about this one? Is that all right? What, you know, you just, in the miracle mindedness.
Y le dice Jesús, tengo que mirar tengo que mirar lo otro, y así entras a la mentalidad milagrosa.
But until that decisiveness, it's, you know, it's Oh, yeah, you just,
Pero hasta no lograr ese nivel de decisión vas a estar ahí como
it's
dudando.
the hell march.
Esa es la marcha hacia el infierno.
This is why so many Course in Movement students are taking 30 years to do it because they're not willing to be decisive and 100% in.
Y por eso es que a muchos estudiantes les requiere esto 30 años porque no están decididos totalmente en la mente
So
de,
thank you,
de
Renee.
ir por ello.
Thank you,
Yep.
Renee.
Gracias,
100%.
René.
Let's go.
Un 100%, René.
Yes.
Vamos.
Going to heaven, I'm taking you with me. Let's go.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, David.
Buenas noches. Okay. Good evening. So you've been talking about the releasing desires, since Josie was on asking her question.
Cuando yo sí estaba hablando de liberar deseos,
I had to remember to wait for you, Maria.
ok, no worries.
So you've talked about a couple things.
Ella hablaba, tú hablabas acerca de un par de cosas.
One thing is the desire is simply tension in the mind.
Decías que los deseos simplemente son tensión en la mente.
And my experience is that when Jesus shows me the desire I have for something,
Y mi experiencia es que cuando Jesús me muestra el deseo por algo,
the tension comes up really strong for me.
la tensión viene muy fuerte hacia mí.
And then you've also talked about, just constantly asking Jesus, all right, what next? What else can we look at?
Y tú también nos apuntas a que debemos preguntarle a Jesús qué es lo siguiente que tenemos que ver.
And I've never really been able to determine what desire he's showing me, which is okay.
Y él siempre está dispuesto a mostrarme cuál es el deseo.
I just ask him to show me and I feel the tension and then I release it.
Yo simplemente le pido que me muestre esta energía y yo simplemente la libero.
So I had an epiphany about all of this.
Y he tenido como una epifanía alrededor de esto.
Not only I don't have to figure it out,
Que no solo no necesito darme cuenta,
but I don't even have to know what it is he's showing me.
That's right.
que incluso tampoco necesito saber qué es lo que él me está mostrando.
So
Well, I'll say this first. I always let him lead in that regard, because sometimes it is helpful.
Y con relación a eso, déjalo que sea él quien lidere, porque algunas veces es útil que te muestre.
this is just my experience so far.
Yep.
Y esta ha sido solo mi experiencia hasta el momento.
So this whole time you've been talking with Josie and Renee,
Cuando tú estabas hablando con Josie y con René,
I've been asking Jesus to show me what to look at as a desire.
entonces yo le estaba preguntando a Jesús qué deseo tenía que mirar.
And the tension comes in and it's like it fills up a balloon with air.
Y salió como una tonelada de ellos, como una gran cantidad.
I thank him for showing it to me. I admit I don't need it any longer. I give it to the light.
Es simplemente gracias por mostrármelo y lo entrego a la luz.
And the tension leaves like the air leaving a balloon.
Y la tensión se libera.
I'm like, all right, Jesus, what else can we look at? And it's happened a dozen times. Waves.
Y esto me ha pasado cientos de veces.
So it's like this whole thing is simplified for me.
Yes.
Esto es como que para mí esto es muy simple.
I just have to be willing to look and let him show me.
Es simplemente estar dispuesto a ver y dejar que él me muestre.
If I don't know what the desire is, that's still okay.
E incluso si aún no sé cuál es el deseo, también está bien.
But it just comes and it goes and it comes and it goes, and I just keep looking and releasing.
y puede ir y venir y simplemente yo me mantengo en en la liberación.
Well, as I mentioned, and I'm asking about it now, because sometimes I don't know.
Y como lo he mencionado y le estoy preguntando ahora mismo,
But sometimes it's very helpful to know exactly what the desire is. That's what I'm hearing from him, and that's my experience. Well, I don't know why, it's his plan.
y algunas veces es muy útil saber cuál es el deseo. Y eso lo digo por mi experiencia, pero él sabe porque él es su plan.
So if we're looking at something like chapter 20,
Por ejemplo, si estamos mirando el capítulo 20,
then it's obvious we know.
Mhm.
eso es obvio que sabemos cuál es el deseo.
But when I just spontaneously say, show me what I can look at,
Pero cuando es algo espontáneo y le digo, muéstrame qué tengo que ver,
the tension comes up and then I let it go, but I don't necessarily know what it was from.
entonces la tensión surge, yo la dejo ir, pero no sé exactamente de dónde surgió.
Well, he'll guide it, he'll tell you when it's helpful. I just ask him, I let him guide everything. Sometimes,
Sí, déjalo que lidere, porque algunas veces es útil.
sometimes it's helpful. I just trust him 100%, however he does it.
Yo simplemente confío en el 100% lo que él diga.
I'm
But
thinking, I'm sure he'll, I'll get that indication in time, but for right now, I feel the freedom of just allowing it and letting it go, allowing it and letting it go. And just,
Quizá en algún punto pueda pasar eso, pero en estos momentos es simplemente lo dejo surgir y lo dejo surgir.
So again, we know that he's in charge. So I just let him. Do I need to know what it is? Is it helpful? That's what we do here. If somebody's upset, we go, okay, Jesus, what are we looking at? He delivers out the desire, and then someone goes and they work with them on it. That's just how it is. I've asked them about it. We can get miracles immediately too and go, okay, I can put that in the light. He's the one that guides the miracle from soup to nuts for me. That's all I can share is my experience.
Todo lo que yo puedo compartir aquí es mi experiencia y algunas veces es útil que nos muestre exactamente como cuando pasa aquí, surge una situación y le preguntamos qué tenemos que ver ahí y la liberamos.
Because that was fascinating to me because I did learn, one of the first things he showed me is how to put upsets right into the light.
Porque una cosa fascinante fue cómo él me enseñó que yo podía poner las cosas en la luz directamente.
It's really profound.
Y es muy profunda.
So this was a whole new way of seeing for
Porque
me.
toda esta es una forma de ver para mí.
So yeah, so if he tells me look at then I do, if some kind of upset's coming up and what do you want me to look at? Or sometimes you'll just spontaneously release it, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but I just trust him. However he tells me to do it, that's what I do.
Y sí, a veces no es, o sea, nos muestra que esto no es el gran asunto, simplemente lo vamos liberando, pero yo dejo que él guíe, si él me dice que es importante ver.
So just ask him now, because he leads miracles. Jesus, is it helpful sometimes for me to know what the desire is? Yes or no?
Preguntémosle ahora mismo, porque él es el que lidera los milagros. ¿Es útil para mí que yo vea qué deseo es?
yes.
Sí.
So,
And-
you just, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, when there is a grievance that comes up or something of that matter, and, I'll ask, is this something I need to look at, or do I have a desire for this? But when I'm sitting, okay, go ahead, Maria.
Can you repeat that, David?
Yeah, when there is an upset, I can
Ajá.
ask what the desire is.
Cuando se trata de una molestia, yo le puedo preguntar acerca de qué es la molestia.
But I'm just saying, when I'm calm and just asking, is there anything you want me to look at?
Pero cuando estoy en la casa y le pregunto qué debo mirar,
And the tension comes up, but he doesn't necessarily, or I don't necessarily hear what it is. I can still let it go.
Y la atención surge, simplemente la dejo ir, no necesito saber de qué viene.
Well, the most important thing on miracles is that dialogue with him and that he controls it. And just
Lo más
making
importante en esto de los milagros es dejar que él los controle.
the ego is so tricky and deceptive. So I just leave the whole thing. And he showed me so many times when I was involved in the miracles.
Él me ha mostrado muchas veces cómo yo me involucraba en los milagros.
And how were you involved in the miracles?
¿Cómo
Well,
te involucras tú en el milagro? ¿Cómo interfieres?
a lot of different ways because I was a coach and I knew, here, I'll just find the underlying belief and I'll release the belief. And I can hear now that wasn't guided.
Porque yo era entrenadora y podía mirar todas las creencias que habían debajo de ello.
There are a lot of methods, quote unquote, being used that are not guided for miracles.
Porque hay muchos métodos que no son guiados para los milagros.
Ask me. I will tell you which miracles perform. So I don't know why I'm upset. You show me. That's it. That's the Course of Miracles.
Yo estoy molesto, no sé por qué. Simplemente esto es el curso de milagros. No sabemos por qué estamos molestos.
The key component is always, am I willing to change my mind? That's it.
Y,
Am I willing to change my mind?
y la otra parte de componente esencial es, ¿estoy dispuesto a cambiar de mentalidad?
I'm just saying, it's not helpful to just tell a story and here's what's happened. It's not helpful. It's not the most helpful. If you're willing to, see it differently, that's the clue. You can talk about the story and see it differently, but consciousness loves to tell a story and not change the mind. It loves
Porque
that.
la conciencia le encanta hablar de la historia y no sanar la mente.
So yeah, the key is you're in charge. That's it.
La clave está, tú estás a cargo y eso es todo.
We're involved in miracles when we don't follow. That's being involved.
Nosotros nos involucramos o nos involucramos en los milagros cuando no seguimos.
That's controlling miracles.
Eso es controlar los milagros.
Because we're only letting certain things, our mind available to certain things for healing.
Porque es como dejar que solo dar permiso a la mente para ciertas cosas para ser sanadas.
So it's protecting, miracles are kind of like go naked unto your God deal.
Es porque estás protegiendo alguna parte y esto es ir el asunto es ir desnudo ante tu Dios.
So yeah, he'll guide each one, do I look now, don't look now. That's
Deja que él guía, debo mirar esto ahora.
He'll tell me when not to look with him,
O que no quiero mirar con él.
It's a powerful package, he'll go and go do function and then you just go do function, but you can get him. That's just to teach me that I could get a miracle no matter what I'm doing.
No importa lo que yo esté haciendo, yo puedo simplemente obtener el milagro.
Because ego go, I have to be, in a meditation or the lights are low or something. No, he puts you in functions you can learn. In his assignments, you can learn, I can get a miracle any time of day, 24/7, and be in a state of releasing, no matter what I'm doing.
Porque creemos que tiene que haber como cierto ambiente para los milagros, estar con la luz baja, pero nos damos cuenta que siguiéndolo en cualquier momento puedo obtener un milagro.
So it's tricky. It's really tricky. I just didn't know that until you started showing me how you think you're getting miracles because you're deciding what they are. Not you, but the consciousness will do this, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm getting miracles and I'm sharing and I'm talking about all this stuff. So I had one question for him. When I did that, Jesus, did the healing occur? See, that's the most important thing.
Y ahora la pregunta que más hago es, ¿la sanación ocurrió? Esa es la cosa más importante, porque antes como que me iba mirando otras cosas.
So we're going to have an advanced light circle training at 2:00 for the facilitators, those in the facilitator program. And, we're going to cover some of these things for those that really want to get their working with Jesus on miracles honed.
Y vamos a tener un entrenamiento para facilitadores, para aquellos que quieren aprender con Jesús el tema de los milagros.
And that is such a valuable question to ask. Did the healing occur, Jesus?
Y esa es una pregunta valiosa de hacer. ¿La sanación ocurrió, Jesús?
Because God, it's a beast. It's a machine of diversion.
Es una bestia, es una máquina de
Honing in on those miracles with Jesus is so fabulous.
mantenerse con Jesús en los milagros. Eso es fabuloso.
So that's a question you can ask him. Jesus, did the, am I, just the yes nos, it's a conversation.
Es una conversación de un sí y un no.
Amen, Jesus.
Amén, Jesús.
Thank you, David.
Gracias, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is profound to see. It's just humbling. It's so ridiculously humbling to see where I was interfering with miracles.
Eso es muy profundo y muy humilde, darme cuenta donde yo estaba interfiriendo con los milagros.
I thought, oh my gosh, I've been forgiving my brains out. And then he shows me chapter 20.
Y yo dije, he perdonado todo mi cerebro. Y
But
luego
it's not-
apareció él con el capítulo 20.
But it's good, however willing to do it to begin the conversation. But, as your mind gets more disciplined, you're really on point with them on everything. And you see, it's like Josie, she's look at this big pile of thing. I better get busy. That's what we should be saying. Let me get busy with them and start working with them in partnership to take these out.
Es como mantenernos trabajando con él para limpiar esto.
No, we want to argue. No, gee, I can't follow. It's all that stuff, all that noise. Decisive.
Es todo este argumento es de no de ser decidido. No te puedo seguir.
If he gives you guidance, you jump on it, I'm going.
Y si él te da una guía, simplemente lánzate a ella. Voy por ello.
That starts honing your mind for God. You just, okay. You're just insisting. You can see how you can start to insist that you're clear. No matter what kind of stuff is going on here.
No importa lo que esté surgiendo, simplemente es mantenerse cogido de la mano de Jesús.
You start to see that how well you hear him is your decision. I mean, that's profound.
Can you repeat that?
You start to see that how well you hear that voice is your decision.
Ver que cuán decidido estás es tu decisión.
If you decide to hear it, you're going to hear it. There's nothing that can stop you.
Porque si tú estás decidido a escuchar, no hay nada que te pueda detener.
Every moment of every waking day, we have the power to be decisive, to hear only that voice.
Cada día, cada despertar, podemos darnos cuenta que tenemos la decisión de escuchar solo esa voz.
The play is just to prefer the other one, you know? The
Pero el
devil,
juego es que preferir la otra,
little Gollum,
pequeño Gollum.
Gollum, the little Gollum. Thank you, Jesus. Let's go for God. Let's be decisive and go, look, let's knock this nonsense off. No more nonsense.
Y seamos decididos. Esto no hagamos más cosas sin sentido.
The greatest gift you can give yourself is clear your deck to follow him completely.
El mejor regalo que te puedes dar a ti mismo es seguirlo completamente.
That nothing is more important than following that voice.
Que nada es más importante que seguir esa voz.
But you don't know it till you actually follow it. That's the conundrum.
Pero eso es el canandrum. No te das cuenta hasta que no sigues esa voz.
I'm asking. I had no idea how valuable it was to follow that voice until I actually started following it. It's the trick.
No, yo no me daba cuenta cuán valioso era seguir esa voz hasta que comencé a seguirla. Ese es el truco.
That's it. That's the game we're playing.
Ese es el juego que estamos jugando.
Thank you, Jesus, for getting us through this.
Gracias, Jesús, por traernos a través de esto.
Thank you, David.
Gracias, David.
Okay, boy, we covered a lot tonight. That feels like a lot.
Hemos cubierto una gran parte esta noche.
But it's so much love in that.
Pero hay tanto amor en ello.
Oh, Jesus, thank you so much. Thank you so much, brothers, for your beautiful questions.
Gracias, gracias Jesús y gracias hermanos por esas hermosas preguntas.
So much love.
Mucho amor.
Now, let's see. I have to run this by hand. Let's see if I can do it. None of my buttons work. Let's see.
Vamos a ver si.
Will that one work? Oh. Oh, Jesus. See if I got anything else here. That's a message from our sponsor right there.
Este es un mensaje de nuestro patrocinador.